Okay, here we are on a blustery October morning, taking a look at the 2015 Jeep Cherokee. It's mostly a carryover for the 2015 model year. The big difference, 2015 versus the 2014, is that you can now get an automatic braking collision mitigation system on the higher trims, and also Jeep has incorporated the auto stop start function that's becoming commonplace in cars, and chiefly they do that to slightly improve fuel economy by reducing wastage at idle as when you're at a traffic light and so on. This is a really neat looking vehicle from the front. That's its most distinctive attribute. You see this thing coming up behind you and it really does look like something that you'd see as a concept car at New York or Detroit, and that's its most striking attribute. You walk around to the side and it's a pretty conventional crossover SUV from the side and also from the back. The chief thing that distinguishes this model from other crossovers that are currently available in this price point, which is in the mid-low 20s to about $30,000 or so, well, there are two things. The first thing is that you can get a big V6 in this thing, 3.2 liters and 271 horsepower. And that's significantly bigger and stronger than is typical in this segment. A lot of the vehicles in this segment, like the Toyota CR-V, the Honda CR-V, excuse me, and the Toyota RAV4, it's early, forgive my incoherence, come only with four-cylinder engines, and they max out around 170, 180 horsepower. The standard four-cylinder in this vehicle is actually stronger than the standard engines in some of those vehicles, and if that's not enough, you can step up to that big V6 engine. And one of the really nice things about that big V6 is that it endows this vehicle with pretty good towing capability for a smallish crossover. This can pull up to 4,500 pounds when equipped with that engine. Also, it comes with a 9-speed automatic transmission, and that's both engines, both the standard four-cylinder and the V6. And that's unique. Nothing else currently available in this price point has a 9-speed transmission, and the chief reason for that is that it gives a little bit of a fuel economy advantage. Slight little downside is that sometimes, like when you punch it, having 9 gears, it has to drop down a couple of gears or more gears than it would if you had a 6-speed transmission. So you notice that sometimes. But overall, it's a really smart shifting and really interesting transmission. 9 speeds, holy cow. The other thing that distinguishes the Cherokee from other small crossovers is, let me step inside here, that you can get 2 four-wheel drive systems. I guess technically they're all-wheel drive. In the past, four-wheel drive systems typically referred to systems that were rear-wheel drive based and had four-wheel drive low-range gearing. This vehicle, like most other crossovers, is based on a front-wheel drive layout. However, the optional Active Drive 2 system that's available in this vehicle actually does have low-range gearing, and it does have a locking transfer case. So it's got a lot more capability off-road if you want that than you'd find in a typical crossover, which has a light-duty, basically on-road minded all-wheel drive system, which also, by the way, is available in this. This particular model has that. As you can see, it's got multiple settings. It's got auto, which is what it's in right now. It's got snow, it's got sport, and it's got sand and mud. So this thing's actually pretty capable. In my review, I note that basically what you've got here, the reason that crossovers are so popular is that you combine the attributes of a car in terms of handling and ride quality and also interior space with that nice off-the-ground ride and that additional capability when it snows, and even if you wanted to ride out on the grass that you'd get in a four-wheel drive SUV, but without the atrocious gas mileage and the usually clunky handling that you get in a vehicle like that. This is nicely laid out. Just browse around the interior here. You can see the gauge cluster. It's got a touchscreen display here, and this actually works pretty well. I'll just kind of go through it. You know, you can just tap it, and it actually does go on the first go usually. So, you know, you can go through the apps here and see all the stuff that it does. And then you've got your secondary array here, which has these fairly nice large buttons. You've got a nice traditional gear shift lever here, and you've got lots of inputs for SD cards, iPods, and so on, which is pretty nice. Let's move around to the back and take a look at the other side of it. Got pretty decent back seat room here, and of course these fold down. And one of the advantages, again, of this crossover layout, let me get in here and show you this, in a truck-based SUV, because the engine's up front and it's mounted front to back, and it feeds power to an axle in the back. Typically you'd have this big hump in the center of the vehicle to accommodate the drive shaft that would connect the engine to the transmission to the axle in the back. But in a vehicle like this that's based on a front-wheel drive layout with the engine mounted what they call transversely, which is sideways, most of the drivetrain stuff is up front, so you have a much smaller hump here, which allows easier access to the rows and also creates more room. Let me show you in the back what I mean. The load floor in crossovers, come on buddy, is typically lower than what you'd find in a truck-based SUV, again because there's less stuff in the back axle area, so they can mount this floor lower. In an SUV it would be higher, which of course, you know, means it's harder to get stuff into and out of it. So here you've got a pretty decent cargo area, and you've got a lot of versatile storage systems here, and you've got a little under storage area here where you can hide stuff like cameras and such that you don't want people to look at. Close this up. And I like that even though you can get a power door closer on this thing, it doesn't fight you trying to close it. So if you're a big tall arm geek like I am, you can just throw the thing closed like I just did without having to stand there and you know, fight it and have it wait for you as you try to get it closed. Anyway, the rest of the article, the full review, is up at epautos.com. Hope you'll stop by and take a look. Leave your comments, pro, con, let us know what you think. And as always, send us your videos of terrible driving, which we can post on site or also over at clovercam.com, and we'll see you next time.